Good evening and welcome to the first edition of Rebelwatch this year. I'm Cameron Hassan. Alongside me is sports anchor Jayson Kern and sports reporter Graeme Farrell. We have a lot of things to get into tonight. College football, the NFL are all in full swing. And the Ole Miss Rebels, speaking of college football, are now 3-1 after coming back from a trip from Tuscaloosa where they had a tough loss, especially since it was a game that some people kind of expected us to win. So, I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, so looking at that game, number one, going to Alabama and beating Nick Saban in his own house is like one of the most impossible things to do in college football. The fact that we had to lead at the half, I mean, obviously he's going to go into halftime, probably give his team a little bit of crap. But in the end of the day, like, it's a Nick Saban football team, so I wouldn't start panicking yet for Ole Miss fans.
Just going off of that, just having the lead at half, it was just tough because you thought that we were going to be able to make the second half adjustments, but Alabama they played really well on defense. Our offense couldn't get anything going. O-line struggled, and just the pressure getting to Jackson Dart was just too much for him to handle. So it was a tough one to lose, but we're going to try to rebound and get back at it this week.
Yeah, going on top of that, I mean, it really just seemed like the offense couldn't produce much, especially from an Ole Miss team that is kind of known for scoring a lot of points. And I think if you would have told Coach Kiffin before the game started that Bama was only going to have 24 points, I think he would have taken that any day.
100%.
Oh, for surely. And I believe just going off of, like, offensively, we look to do better. Just with the weak defenses that we've played this season, you would think that we would just be playing better. Our offense has done well against the weak defenses, but seems like a particular thing with Lane Kiffin and his offense at Ole Miss. It always struggles versus the really good defenses, those strong defensive lines.
And also when you look at that game, we caught a lot of breaks. The blocked punt in the end zone, and then they fumbled on the one, pushed it back, held them to a field goal. The missed field goal at the end of the half kind of hurt us a little bit. A couple targeting calls missed, a couple pass interference. You can't really, at the end of the day, you can't really blame the refs. But 100% I agree. They're going to come out firing this week. I feel like LSU last week didn't look what everyone thought they were going to be. Only won by 3 at home.
They struggled.
Against Arkansas on a game-winning field goal. This whole high-powered LSU team might not be the team that everyone's thinking.
Well, Lane said coming into his interview that he had on Monday that this is possibly the hottest offense in the country. So we're going to see how Pete Golding and that defense draws it up this week. It's going to be tough. I hope our corners are able to, do well, stay on those receivers, because containing Jaden Daniels is going to be hard enough as it is.
Well, and to bounce off your point, Milroe is known as a runner himself, and although he had like a 30-yard run in the first quarter, the defense kind of held him in check a little bit in the run game. Passing game, not so much, but the run game, he wasn't that explosive. Yeah. But Jaden Daniels, a lot faster, probably more athletic. I'd like to agree with that. But I like to see what Pete Golding has, if they put some spies on him, or just see what they can do to stop the run this week.
Yeah, that's what they did with Sunturn Perkins for Jaden Milroe. But, yeah, I hope we do it with Jaden Daniels. He said that possibly, though, they're not going to really look for that or use that again this season.
You got to keep it in the back of the pocket.
Yeah, never know.
Yeah, also some new news that came out was that tight end Michael Trigg is no longer with the team. Do y'all think that's going to affect anything at all?
He hasn't really been a big part of the offense. Yeah. You thought, coming in from USC, transferring here, him with Jackson Dart, they kind of seemed like they had a connection, that they were 1-2. They did at USC. Yeah. Thought that we were going to have a really special connection. And fortunately, don't know the full reasons why yet, but it's just unfortunate. We just wish that we still had him on the team, but had to let him go.
And 100%. He had that big touchdown to extend the lead late in the game against Tulane. But yeah, when him and Dart came, I guess he might be a little shocked by how much attention Dart has and how he's kind of been thrown to the wing a little bit. Also, Prescorn coming back into the lineup doesn't help at all. Mm-hmm. So that's got to factor in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely has to, because Prescorn is actually, I think he's the better tight end overall, because he's able to run block better, able to actually run better routes than Trigg. And that's just a factor. If you're able to do those things better than the other tight end, you're going to be the one that's going to get the playing time.
Yeah, and blocking is key.
Yeah.
Especially with the kind of running backs that we have, you need a block, and Trigg kind of tends to be a little lazier on that side. I like Trigg's hands more, but I think the better overall tight end is definitely Prescorn.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully the team can make some adjustments this week to, you know, get them better prepared for LSU.
100%.
But we're going to take a quick break, and then we come back. We're going to be talking about other news going on in the college football world.
It's that time of the year again, fellas. When the mornings are hot, the afternoons are hotter, and football is on its way back. Now, games is won by the battles fought in August. Everyone that's not revered as an Ole Miss legend has been in your shoes before, trying to survive that Mississippi heat, competing for a spot, and knowing the sacrifice that it takes to make it in this league. You go into this money collection of men from 100 different places, and if you work, you emerge from it as one team with one goal and one heartbeat. The SEC awaits you. And if they don't know who you are now, they will soon.
Where are we gonna go?
Someplace warm. A place where the beer flows like wine. Where beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm talking about a little place called
Oxford, Mississippi.
To see it is to believe it. You hear about it, but you just have to see the party.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Grove. The sound and fury are here. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Did he got a toe down?
The pageantry, the pride, the pomp is unmatched and unrivaled.
This stadium has come unhinged.
This is what college football is all about.
Oh, as he gets walloped.
No coach is having more fun doing
This is the place to be in college football right now.
Welcome back to Rebelwatch. I'm Cameron Hassan. Alongside me is Jayson Kern and Graeme Farrell. It's heading towards the end of September, which means, you know, college football is in the full swing of things. There's been a lot of stuff that has gone down. And in the preseason, there was quite some drama, especially with all the conference realignment, you know. And it's been pretty big news that the Pac-12 is going to be no longer when it comes this year, next time. And but right now, the Pac-12 seems to be thriving. Like, there's 6 teams in the top 25. There's 4 in the top 10. I mean, they have the leading Heisman candidate. They have arguably the most popular, like the hottest team right now to be talked about. Why do you think they're thriving now? And
Well, just the reason why they're thriving, one word, Deion. And Deion Sanders is that guy. He's the one that's creating all this hype. And one thing that I will say, it was tough for them against Oregon. That was a tough loss. They didn't have one of their best players, though, Travis Hunter, who's out. He says he actually sent Deion a text message like, hey, I want to play this week. I'm not taking no for an answer. Yeah. Deion responded with, hey, get healthy. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. So you got to love that if you have that in a player. But just the way that Deion has been able to like recruit and build this for Colorado has been crazy because I don't think they've had a winning season in almost 4 or 5 years.
No, crazy numbers.
And it's tough, and now they're already like selling out all their student tickets, all their season tickets, and it's crazy.
And when you look at their schedule, going to Oregon and now USC coming up this weekend, they got humbled a little bit against Oregon. When you talk a lot, you got to be able to back it up, and that's not really what they did over the weekend.
It could be, the reset before the come up.
It could be.
You
It
never
could
know.
be, and that's what the Colorado fans hope. At the end of the day, this is the first year of Deion. You can't expect fireworks. Yeah, they have a lot of great players. His son, the quarterback, is great. Travis Hunter's amazing. He said he's out. Is he going to play this weekend? Who knows? But yeah, when you look at the teams in that conference, Washington's great. Oregon's great. Bo Nix coming from the SEC looks fantastic. Caleb Williams, best quarterback in the entire nation. It's not an easy conference, and the fact that they're all splitting up is mind-blowing, and it's so funny, the timing for this.
It really is.
Yeah, I just still can't believe it. I grew up being from Sacramento. I loved my Pac-12 football, used to go to Cal games, and it's just sad to see it happening, but it's just college football now. The money is just talking. It's what happens. And going off of just Caleb Williams, we're going to see how he does against Colorado this week, and I think it might be the biggest game of the week.
Take the over.
Take
Both teams have amazing
yeah.
offenses, but those defense. They just gave up, 28 to Arizona State?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got shut out by Fresno State, and to give up that many points to a team that shouldn't be close to the top 25, it's not great, but the offense looked fine. So it should be pretty interesting to see the game, especially on the road at Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
You never know with Deion.
You never know. You never know.
But another thing that is so funny to me is how Cal and Stanford are joining the Atlantic Coast Conference. They play in the Pacific. How does that make any sense? Also, do you think that might hurt recruiting? Trying to get if you're trying to go to Virginia Tech or Virginia, and a couple of your games you're flying out to California to play football, I think that would hurt recruiting a little. I would want to go across the country to play a football game. That's my opinion, but I feel like that
It'd
could
get exhausting.
hurt. It would suck.
Oh, and it's not even just with football; it's also the other sports.
Exactly.
Say if you're
Exactly.
you go to UCLA, you got a game at Rutgers on Wednesday, and you got a basketball game. You got another one in Maryland, and it's just tough. It's just how do you do that? How do you handle that as a student?
You're gonna fly 4 days out because you got to get used to the 3-hour difference. I think it's a recipe for disaster. But when you look at Colorado and USC joining the Big Ten, at least that's not that big of a Big 12, and Oregon joining the Big Ten. That's not the biggest difference. But when you look at, like I said, the ACC with Pacific Coast teams, kind of funny to me.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely different. It's going to be a different type of scenario.
100%.
Yeah, and so obviously a lot of stuff going on in the Pac-12, but any other conferences that are catching your eye right now? I mean, obviously the SEC, arguably Georgia's kind of carrying them this season. If they lose, what's going to happen? I don't know. What are y'all thinking?
I think the ACC is kind of up for grabs right now. You got a huge top 20 matchup with Notre Dame going to Duke this weekend. College game day is going to be there. There hasn't been this much hype around Duke football and this Daniel Jones, but they still weren't great. But when you look at Duke and North Carolina, two basketball schools that are now 4-0 on the season, with Drake May, who's going to be maybe a top 10, top 15 draft pick in this upcoming draft. The ACC is wide open. Florida State, Clemson just had an overtime game on the Florida State pulled it out with the overtime win on the road. I think that's kind of one of the most interesting conferences so far. I'm not gonna lie, because the SEC, Georgia's good, but Bama, the SEC West is interesting. But I think overall the ACC is gonna come down to the wire.
I will say one of my top 4 teams that I think are going to go to the college football playoff is going to be FSU coming out of the ACC. I think they're just Jordan Travis, possible Heisman candidate. He's just doing it all for that team, and that was a great game that they had at Clemson. I can't believe he missed that field goal.
To win on the road like that.
To win, yeah.
Also, they were down the entire game. They were down at 10 by 1, down at 10 at the half,
Yeah,
or right before the half.
yeah.
But that just shows the kind of pose they have as a team and the chemistry they have.
Yeah, Mike Norvell has those guys. They're up and running. And I'll tell you what, they talk about SEC physicalness, but they went up against LSU, and they were pretty physical and dominated that team.
Big time. Big time.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about the Lady Rebs and what's going on with the Ole Miss volleyball and soccer team.
Ole Miss 18th NCAA tournament appearance.
This is fun, folks, as Baker's peeling it. Little heat check. Snow Collins for 3. Bring it up.
Said, I love Madison Scott.
Ole Miss Rebels are having a lot of fun, and you can see why.
My passion is journalism. Here at the University of Mississippi, we produce a nightly half-hour newscast, broadcasting regionally on cable and globally on the World Wide Web. is the kind of experience that is preparing me to walk into any news station in the country with the skills and abilities I need to succeed. So it's not just preparing me for the real world, it is the real world.
Do you love sports? Then you should know about STEM. Because maximizing nutrition, analyzing peak muscle performance, calculating the perfect shot, and more are all made possible by science, technology, engineering, and math. In fact, there are more careers than ever in sports science. So if you have a passion for sports, then think about getting involved in STEM and improve everyone's game on and off the field. Get inspired at SheCanSTEM.com.
Welcome back to Rebelwatch. I'm Cameron Hass, and alongside me is Jayson, Kern, and Graeme Farrell. And now we're going to get into the Lady Rebs. The Ole Miss volleyball and soccer team have wrapped up their non-conference play and are heading into their SEC play. Both teams have first-year brand new head coaches, so it's been interesting to see how things are shaping up so far. What's going on with soccer so far?
Yeah, so soccer, I mean, they're 5-3-2 right now. They're 1-1 to start SEC play. They had a big win at home versus LSU, then went on the road to Vandy and lost 2-0. I wouldn't start worrying yet. They go to A&M this weekend. That should be a winnable game. But it's really become with the senior, Kelly Brady, who has 6 goals. She's been leading the squad. And then we have a Japanese goalie who's been lights out with an .865 save percentage, has 45 saves and 5 shutouts on the year. She's been nonstop, and she's a huge help to how this team's success so far.
Well, that's insane. When we come over to the volleyball side, we got them at a 7-6 record. They're 1-1 in conference play. They actually won against Alabama last week at home, so good for the Lady Rebs. They are actually 4-0 at home this season, which is good, and they have a 3-game home stretch coming up with a big matchup versus number 12 Tennessee, and we're going to see how those Lady Rebs do, and we hope that they come out with a win.
Should be fun.
Yeah. Will be interesting to see how everything plays out, and we hope they do well this season.
100%.
I think we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, we're going to go and talk about the NFL and then all the latest news that's been happening with them.
The dynamic freshman is starting to make his impact.
Dagger with the shot clock down to 1.
That 3-ball drops for Jamin Brakefield. Fagan from the corner with a triple. Farrell for 3, and that's a big response. 3-ball, yes. Miss shooting lights out of the pavilion. And give him one more. Wow. Alley. Well, you can't teach that. Well, that should give Ole Miss a boost.
Creating a legacy takes time, takes dedication, spirit, and a greater vision. That vision starts here at the University of Mississippi. What will you be remembered by? Your character your contributions, your friendship. Your legacy will define who we are now and who we are becoming for our state, our students, and our future. Ole Miss, build your legacy.
These are more than just the sounds of a safe place to go after school. These are the sounds of interest being ignited and of mentors making an impact. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid who comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
We are rebels. For more than 160 years, we've been accomplishing the impossible, from conducting the world's first lung transplant to helping prove Einstein was right. From preserving the past to saving the future. We are Mississippi's flagship university, a place where passion and learning unite, where friends become family, where small-town charm meets world-class innovation. We are the University of Mississippi. We are Ole Miss.
Welcome back to Rebelwatch. I'm Cameron Hassan. Alongside me is Jayson, Kern, and Graeme Farrell. So now moving on to the NFL, we're now 3 weeks in, and there has been quite a lot of action, quite a lot of headlines. Now only 3 teams remain undefeated. Out of those 3 teams, who do you guys think could possibly make a Super Bowl run?
Oh, it's going to be the Dolphins. Are you kidding me? 70-20? The last time a team put up that many points was in 1940. That's 70 points is ridiculous. The Bears did it. They scored 73, I believe, back in 1940. And the NFL championship wasn't called the Super Bowl back then. It was the NFL championship. So when you think about good teams, think about the Chiefs. You think about the Eagles. But now the Dolphins, I wouldn't say out of nowhere, but I think they're going to have a target on their back this year.
Oh, yeah, and Tua right now, the front runner for MVP. Mm-hmm. Also, I understand that he wanted to have the respect, Mike McDaniel not kicking it. I think he should have went for the record, 73. He should have kicked it for it.
100%.
But, yeah, just dealing with that, I think out of those 3 teams, I think the 49ers. I think they're too stacked. As well. I think they're stacked all over the board. Their offense, Christian McCaffrey has 12 straight games where he's scored a touchdown. And Brock Purdy, if he didn't get hurt last year during the season, we could be saying right now the Niners were Super Bowl champions the past season. But, injuries happen. The Eagles, though, they had an impressive game versus the Buccaneers. They really just out-physicaled them. Just, the push with Jalen Hurts just at the 1-yard line, just pushing them in. It's going to happen.
The 92%. When you look at, Jason Kelce, everyone knows Jason Kelce by now with the New Heights podcast, the most entertaining brothers in the league. But when you look at how good that offensive line is, it makes life so much easier for Jalen Hurts. Swift came from the Lions last year. He was good, but when you look at how he's played this year, it's ridiculous. He has the biggest holes. You can fly an airplane through those holes.
He's just hitting the hole. I haven't seen it. And he also hopped over that guy during the game on Monday night. And I'm just where was this athleticism in Detroit? I feel like they just weren't using him right. And it seems like they have found a way to use him in Philadelphia. But the sleeper, Kansas City, you can't.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
That's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
And speaking of that game was insane. And let's not forget about the main star of the show, Taylor Swift. I can't believe that.
That was a surprise. There were some hints. Are Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift talking? Are they not? And
I didn't believe it at first.
I
thought it was a rumor.
Because it was the whole on New Heights podcast. Travis Kelce went to Arrowhead for the Taylor Swift concert and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna give her my number on a friendship bracelet."
Yep.
But I guess Taylor Swift doesn't talk to fans before and after, so he said, "Ah, man, I missed opportunity." And no one knows what happened in between that time. But now they're quote unquote talking, and right before kickoff, they showed Donna Kelce and Taylor Swift sitting next to each other in the box and. Who knows?
It was the shock of the world.
Who knows?
Who knows?
When I tell you every Taylor Swift fan turned that game on, they're probably like, what am I watching? But they're in it for Taylor Swift because those fans are, let me tell you, they're crazy.
The Swifties are real. I will tell you what. And seeing that video after the game and while they're walking through the tunnel, right next to each other.
They
and
went
it's just
all
like,
around town.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh. I also saw another video that she apparently left in like a popcorn kernel thing.
She definitely did.
Yeah,
That's what
I
she does
saw
in
that,
her shows.
and
yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, that is one of the smartest ideas I've ever seen for doing
If you
that.
saw how many people were standing outside that box after the game, it was ridiculous. There was a herd of people. But when you're the most popular female in maybe the world, I don't know, we'll see, because the Swifties are pretty crazy. But when you look at, like, it's not even just Taylor Swift. Travis Kelce's jersey sales went up 400%.
The Instagram followers, everything.
350,000 Instagram followers.
And it's so funny looking on, like, TikTok and Instagram, like, having all the Swifties talking to their significant others about, like, hey, how does it feel that Travis Kelce's now on the map, and watching them freak. Travis Kelce's going to be a Hall of Famer. Why? How dare you disrespect me? It's so funny. And I think it's good bringing everyone together a little bit. There's a lot of Swifties that probably don't watch as much football, but this is good to get them a part of football and just to show. Yeah, I mean, there's also saw on Twitter that Travis Kelce got in a fight in practice. Every football player gets in a fight. It's football. It's not a fight, but like a little push and shoving, and then some girl was like, oh, he's so bad for Taylor. I mean, you can't really go off that. It's football, but it's so funny watching all these fans. Like, two football fans and Taylor Swift fans are just completely different. Yeah. But watching them interact has been one of the funniest things ever.
It's definitely crazy, like, to see every single, like, news outlet possible, like sports, like mainstream news, like everyone's talking about it. Like, it's relevant to everyone, and everyone is so invested now.
I can't, on my own social media, I'm not even a Swiftie, and every single post or one or two posts, it's just that whole video from Sunday. Just her in the box or her screaming while he scored. It was nuts. Insane.
And even during, like, the summer when she was on her Eras tour, my whole For You page on TikTok was Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift. And I knew she was big, but I didn't know how big she really was.
Neither did I.
It was so surprising. And one of the funniest things I saw was Coach Andy Reid of the Chiefs came out and said that he's Cupid, and said that he secretly put those two together, which I thought was the funniest thing ever.
Same with Bill Belichick. He also
the greatest catch of his career.
It's wild to see, like, just him commenting on it and, like, getting invested in, like, the dating life. I just don't know. But I'm rooting for them. I'm a fan of them. I hope things all work out.
That's great. And she also came out and talked about how she wants to settle down, get a family. Travis Kelce, when you look at the way he interacts with Jayson's kids, and like he calling him Uncle Travie, he's such a family man, and I personally think it's great. She's an Eagles fan.
Exactly.
She's an Eagles fan.
How is that going to work out?
Jayson, but Travis's brother is an Eagle, so maybe there's got to be something we're all missing.
Is she going to do like a half and half jersey like the mom did? You know, maybe.
But who would be the Eagles player in the back?
Obviously,
DeAndre Swift.
There it is. Yeah. I remember everyone's like, oh, I'm so sick of seeing it. And then they put on the Bucks Eagles game. It had Jayson Kelce's last name, and then Swift. It said Kelce Swift. And I was like, this is skyrocket. When people thought that all the Colorado posts were an insane amount, as soon as Taylor's face was showed on that cast, everything changed.
It was everywhere.
Everything changed.
It was everywhere.
And it's a good thing.
It is.
But depending on which way you look at it.
We're going to see. I don't know.
It's good for football. It's good for viewership. Are you kidding me?
For sure.
But
the Chiefs
tickets are going to be insane.
Is this real, or is this all just for clicks, for ratings?
But I think, neither of them, I don't feel like neither of them need the publicity, though.
But maybe not for her, but he could.
Mean,
he's okay. I'm gonna stop there because Travis Kelce, if he retired right now, he'd be in the Hall of Fame in 5 years.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't need a Taylor Swift to be put on the map. He is on the map. Yeah, I see people like, oh, I'm from Europe and I have no idea who Travis Kelce is. Yeah, no, like obviously you don't know Travis Kelce.
Right.
I don't know who half the football players are over there. It's like the same thing, but he's insanely popular, and I think it's gonna be great.
It is. We're gonna have to see.
I agree.
Well, I think we're all rooting for them, though.
100%.
Well, that's all we've got for tonight on Rebelwatch. Make sure to follow us at Rebel_Watch for the latest sports updates. And be sure to tune in next week at Thursday at 5:30. Thank you and good night.